Hey guys, Jason here with a word to the wise. Let me adjust this thing a little bit. Love this new large dashboard I have compared to my old Jeep. I'm trying to eat a little lunch here, so hopefully I don't have too much stuff in my teeth. So I'm going to jump right into it. I'm trying to keep this a little more fresh while I'm fresh. I tried to do this video last night, and looking at it, stale as old bread. So I'm going to try to invigorate a little bit while it's still the AM hours. I'm still running on a little bit of coffee. But what I was trying to look at is because I saw that Armor of Truth did a video talking about water is going to be like gold in the future. And it's going to be held over everybody as that carrot, or otherwise you get the stick. And mainly talking about Wormwood, looking at Revelations in chapter 8, how it's described a star falls from heaven on the rivers and springs and causes them to turn bitter and poisonous, and many die from the waters because it was made bitter. Paraphrasing, I'll put it up here. We'll definitely read into it. So I put the whole video together, and where I was looking and pointing at is, if you look in the Old Testament, anytime it says wormwood, in that word can be also called poisonous water, depending on which text you're looking at. So if you look at the Hebrew of that word, wormwood, and then you can cross-reference it to see that it's actually being used, or that in the prophets it's being said that, yes, I gave them poisoned water to drink for what they have done. And wormwood, if you're looking in the Old Testament, it is usually referred to as being brought on because of the people and their false teachings, their false ideologies, lying prophets, bad teachings, and I gave them wormwood to drink. We can look at a couple of those and we'll kind of see how it's being used. But that's why, looking at Revelations, I always say I look at things outside the box, because I can't take visions as true conciseness. Like, there might be something that happens that looks different to what it's being said. If the Bible in the visions of Revelation is supposed to be taken 100% literal to the words being said, how could anybody ever deny that heaven and hell and God and angels and the devil are all real things? Like in chapter 14, where it says that 3 angels go out over the sky blowing trumpets. If you saw that and you had time to repent and not take the mark and not deny God and not go into falsehoods, like, how could you possibly not take the Bible as literal and want to say, like, I need to get myself a Bible now so I can understand what just happened? This is what everybody's saying is been real this whole time, and now I believe. If a giant pit opens up and demons come crawling out of it with heads like locusts and crazy abomination looking things, how can anybody deny? Where are these things coming from? And people say, oh, it's like a science fiction movie. These are all like monsters that live in the earth and have always lived they live in inner earth, in, some underworld where King Kong lives and blah, blah, blah. So what hit me this morning, looking at YouTube a little bit and seeing things like this, people with large channels that are saying that the Antichrist is this person that's come on the scene. And, okay, do you think that the Antichrist has plotted and planned to come on the scene, and he's going to come out like this, and he's going to bring down what? Those who are already lost? If we don't think that any other religion outside of Christianity is true, and yet the word is given to us that speaks on that Antichrist, do you think that he's done this for thousands of years just to come out on the scene wearing a hoodie sweater, and he's going to be the guy that's going to deceive who? Christians and the Jews? I can't buy that for a second. And so if I haven't watched these videos, it's probably something I need to just spend a little time. And I'm not saying that these people that are talking about this are lost in any way, you know, but a lot of people get excited. They want to, you know, jump on these kinds of huge topics. And I'm sure it's like Sling and Stone. I know he's very biased in his reporting. And, you know, it says, oh, we can't say, we don't know 100%, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, I wouldn't even touch this with a 10-foot pole. This is something that's probably going to come and go. But if the Antichrist is going to come on the scene, and I heard just this morning before I went on my break to go and eat a little lunch here, somebody talking about Pakistan and India are bumping heads. And so in that same idea, you got this guy that's come out of the woodwork that some people are saying are even performing miracles of some sort. And we'll have to take that all with a grain of salt, you know, because you're watching it on a video. And who are the people? What are the, you know, sleight of hand, all that kind of stuff. But if the Antichrist is going to come out to deceive the world, he would need a good adversary, I would have to believe. So if war had become more prevalent on the world stage, and he is going to bring a false peace, and the world would go after that person saying, look at how he's brought peace, and he's done such a good thing, you know, with his time that, you know, he's been here. Now, I'm just going to say somebody like Trump, just as an example. You know, imagine you're trying to come against America and say, you know, oh, I'm going to destroy you and your people will be under my thumb, and tyranny and all that kind of stuff we heard during the Biden era, during, you know, the COVID scenarios where you see like people like the Netherlands that are like locking down, not letting people kind of move about. Well, okay, now that's evil, and oh, this must be the Antichrist, and the Antichrist beast system is now being poured out. It's like, no, it's going to be a much smoother, slicker way to trick the people, because he wants to get these numbers on his side so he can, you know, take them with him as he goes to hell, which is going to happen. And if people are into Wicca and all these other kind of like, you know, worshipping of trees and Mother Nature, and there's all sorts of different sects of Christianity, Catholicism, and Buddhism, and all these kind of religions. Like, if there's one true religion, then the Antichrist is not going to worry about everybody else that's already lost, because they're not following the true Christ, the true religion. I say, in my opinion and my belief, Christianity, not Catholicism. I don't worry about what Mary has done and her or her husband's, you know, theme in the whole Bible. I'm not looking to Peter or Paul as the guys that, you know, have really saved me and got me understanding, and man, I pray to them every time I pray to Jesus. No, I don't even bring up them at all. If anything, yes, if I go to heaven and I'm standing there and I have the opportunity, I would say, dude, can I just meet Matthew, because he was an inspiration, you know, for the writings of his book. You know, Peter, wow, you're the guy, huh? Like, man, God is great, and you are the proof. And, you know, I like Amos. You know, I always find Amos to be a very interesting small portion of the Old Testament. Paul, man, let me shake your hand. You did a great great work, and you probably knew a lot more than anybody else in the New Testament. I can't say much for against like Isaiah or somebody like that. But let me just kind of get into this a little bit. I'm not going to go into all the things on Wormwood. You can easily go to Bible Hub, type in Wormwood, and they above where the results come, there's an OT, a capital OT, or an NT. There's New Testament or an Old Testament. You can click on the OT, and it'll give you all the Old Testament Wormwood stuff only. And then you can go through each one of those scriptures, and you can see that different Bibles will say poisonous water, some will say wormwood. And you can go into like the interlineary, which is the Hebrew, translations. It shows you the Hebrew letters, and then you can see like, the word, how it's pronounced, and you can say, okay, well, this is wormwood. This does say wormwood, not poisonous water. They changed it. Who changed it? Why did they change it? I'm sure they had reasons one way or another. So, Proverbs chapter 5. This is titled, which is not in the text, I'm sure, but it's warning against adultery. So let me just dig in here. My son, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding, that you may keep discretion, and your lips may guard knowledge. For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path of Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life. Her ways wander, and she does not know it. So, this is using a woman in reference. Hang on. Let me just cancel this so I can call her back. So, adultery, you look at adultery as it's spoken in like Matthew verse 5. Yes, I believe that adultery against your wife, your husband, their husband, a woman's husband in natural marriage is forbidden. You do not want to, take on another woman if you're married. You want to marry a woman versus just having a live-in girlfriend. What are you doing? Especially if you're going to have kids or you already have kids. Like, commit. Be that rock to each other. But if you look at the Old Testament, adultery is also used in the major prophets and the minors in some portions as those who have left their first love. And so they have gone off into adultery to go find other things, other religions, teachings, idols, things of that nature. Jeremiah has some good ones. There's Jeremiah chapter 9 and there's Jeremiah 23, which now I've just turned exactly to Jeremiah 23, so I don't know if I should. Let me just read a little bit here. I won't go into 9 because 9 kind of also reflects this quote that's in chapter 23. So, Jeremiah 23 verse 14. But in the prophets of Jerusalem I have seen a horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies. Sorry, the sun's reflecting on the book and I don't want to get blinded. They strengthen the hands of evildoers so that no one turns from his evil. All of them have become like Sodom to me, and its inhabitants like Gomorrah. Therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts concerning the prophets. Behold, I will feed them with bitter food and give them poisoned water to drink. For from the prophets of Jerusalem, ungodliness has gone out into all the land. So, I'll read verse 16 here too. Thus say the Lord of hosts, do not listen to the words of the prophets who prophesy to you, filling you with vain hopes. They speak visions of their own minds, not from the mouth of the Lord. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's short and sweet. So what I just said up before this reading, right here, the lying prophets. It talks about the adultery, and they walk in lies, strengthen the hands of evildoers. Yet, what does it say right after the quote? Is, do not listen to the words of these lying prophets. So maybe I'll kind of leave this shorter here. Now there's Wormwood also in Amos. It speaks the same thing. Injustice and unrighteousness. Not, if it's bringing Wormwood, it's not for the adultery in the same way. So it's that whole falsehood. Now, let me just go right into Revelation chapter 8, and we'll read it word for word with this in mind. So, Revelation chapter 8, verse 8. The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain, burning with fire, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. And the name of the star is Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood. And many people died from the water because it had been made bitter. So, what I think, outside the box, what could be happening in that trumpet is that the world is trying to get people to buy into the falsehoods, adultery, to the lying and false prophets. We see the Pope thing happening right now. And I'm not saying that the trumpets are going to be blown tomorrow. I'm just saying that a lot of people look at the Pope and they all wanted to say, oh, he did a good thing and this and that. He did some good, but I've also heard a lot of rumors and seen a lot of newspaper reports about him doing bad. I remember when a lot of people were trying to get sanctuary and go to the Vatican, and they locked the doors and locked them out. So there's a chance that the richest church, one of the richest churches, could have done a lot of good for a lot of people, but they didn't. And I'm not saying I know what they do with their finances, what help they bring, what they do, but they also called for same-sex marriages, and aliens can be saved. I'm sure there's a lot of other little things here and there. But what I think could be happening in these visions that he has of these angels blowing the trumpets, because either it's a vision of the true future to happen, or it's a vision of what could be needing to be described of what is happening. I saw a woman on many waters. The angel described to me what I saw. What you saw was the waters are peoples, nations, tongues, and multitudes. So water meaning something else. And that's in Revelations. Now that doesn't include looking at Daniel when he has the angel describing to him what the vision meant. Looking at Joseph. Joseph had the seer of dreams of sorts, and so when somebody would describe their dream, he could describe to them what the dream meant. And not saying that all dreams are some sort of vision or something like that, but the people that came to him, he described to them the visions, and the visions came true, which is why he got placed into the position he did as just below the ruler of Egypt, and he helped save the world during that time of good and that time of bad. But what were the dreams? It was talking about good cows and then like skeleton, scary looking cows. But it meant something completely different. It talked about a drought coming to the world and a famine. And through him, he helped save a lot of people. And so he was propped up. And I'll leave it at that. This has gone longer, but I think I got this out a lot better. I think it's a lot more clean cut and concise than the last video, so I'll use this one for sure. But all we can do is wait. There's so many things that are happening, so many things that people are saying are going to happen. Power outages, droughts, money, stock market crashes, water shortages, who knows? who knows what's going to happen. All I can do is take the Bible for what it is. And then that's why my mind thinks outside the box, because I can't say that soon there's going to be a star that falls out of the sky and it's going to kill all the things in the ocean. Or is it a vision that we need to interpret when we see it and say, this is what it meant? The wormwood, giving them wormwood to drink. People are biting into this, and they're not taking into consideration that God has given us the word to look at. And these people are then running off, and they're making YouTube videos and TikToks and news reports and churches that are just spouting all these things saying that this is what's going to happen. It's like, if you're not taking it out of here, why would you sit there and say that you believe that dragons are going to come out, or NASA's saying that there's a giant star that's going to come out from behind the sun and it's going to crash into Earth and kill half the world? And does the Bible say that? No. So why would you say that? Just a word of the wise. God bless.